folks, welcome to Andy's Audio Crap, where we talk about audio gear in all of its glory. Today we have Sony. We're going to be talking about Sony and why Sony has kind of lost its mind here. And this is a review. Be careful. This is a review. Don't want to get dinged. So I'm reviewing why I think they've lost their mind. Dear Sony, we used to be great friends. I told everyone about you and recommended you for lots of people. You screwed up. ... Love, Andy. Crap. Okay, I'm a big fan of Sony. I'm going to put that out there. I love their stuff. Obviously, I have many Sony units. This is only a small portion of them. I love their sound. I've always been a fan of Sony. I had a Walkman as a kid. I had a Discman as a teenager. And I had a Zune. Is that right? Sony Zune? Is that, yeah, anyways, as, early 30s. And anyways, this is a 7055. This is complete eye candy for somebody who likes the silver face stuff, the vintage stuff, and they sound really great. They sound very neutral. They don't punch too much. They're not too chirpy. Nothing really to say bad about them outside of the fact that they're vintage and every vintage unit needs restoration. But when it comes to the restoration on this unit, it's pretty straightforward, and there's kits out there. And if you have a steady hand, not like me, I shake really bad. But anyways, if you have a steady hand and you have a wherewithal to get a soldering iron and you can follow instructions, there's kits. You can do the whole everything in here and have a unit that works pretty good for the next 10, 20 years. The other boards in here that don't come in the kit, like the FM AM receiver, yeah, they may, go by the wayside, but you could always go get the kit for that too. Okay, so settled. Sony made some really cool stuff back in the 70s. The wood cases on these really hard to find in good condition because, well, they kind of went El Cheapo on the way they designed them, and well, they all broke. So not all, but you can find them occasionally that are in good condition. There is a guy out there refabbing them, so and they don't break. So I would highly encourage you to look that guy up. He's on eBay if he's still out there. It's been a couple of years since I've looked for one. This is these two here are blackface 90s, 80s, 90s, and these are just regular off-the-shelf top brand, top model. Not top brand, it's all Sony. Top model for that particular year. It's like the upper echelon before you got into like the exclusive boutique Sonys. And this one in particular sounds really good. This one over here has like a trioidal transformer. It's the round transformer, and it's they're expensive. They're not cheap to build. They're not cheap to buy and put into a unit, so they really cared about the sound. These two, absolutely to die for good sound for $100, and that's how much you can get one of these right now for. The downside is that it's all push button, and so you don't get you don't get to like, oh, that's if you push the button up and that's too loud, and push it down and that's too quiet, you can't just do the whole fine tuning thing that I'm aware of. Maybe I've missed some of the features on the on these. Put them in the comments if I did lose, if I missed it. But to my knowledge, yeah, it can get annoying, but they are absolutely wonderful sounding for what they are. Price point, absolute killer good deal right now. They can punch, they can hit, they can you can get absolute great sound out of them. Moving up into the early 2000s, now you have the ES series, and the ES series right now is getting really, really cheap. The ES series is extra special. I think that's what it's called. Correct it in the comments if that's not really it. Somebody may have just been messing with me. All right, so this is their upper line, and I think I picked this one up for like $150 or something like that. Silver face and all, and it's real metal. It's just absolutely wonderful. Has tons of inputs, has just an absolute boatload of outputs. It does at least 5.1. It may do 7.1. I don't use them for surround sound, so not really keen on that. Don't know it anyways. Keen, know it. That was the wrong word to use. Anyways, you get the point, right? Sorry. S video in, so you don't have any HDMI on this. It's that old. But it sounds absolutely beautiful, and it is built so well. It's just, you know, it's solid extruded aluminum for the heat sinks. It's not that, you know, it's not this, it's solid. Let's talk about this. I recommended these 2 or 3 years ago. I recommended these to everyone who would ask about getting a cheap analog stereo, and I have come to regret recommending it, because 3 of them this year have come back, and these are college students, because I live between 2 big college towns, and I'll go to these events, like, you know, stereo events and record sales, and I'll hang out at the record stores, and somebody will say, what would you recommend? I have a very limited budget. And I used to say Sony 190s. Don't anymore. And the reason is they have a fatal flaw in them that results in a cracked board. If they are even like, it can be just that, and it's done. That's it. That's all it takes. So be very careful if you have one of these. Don't, like, if you really do like the sound and you want one, you know, just put it on a pillow, and not literally, because that'll catch on fire, but, you know, just treat it very nice. The problem that I have with it isn't necessarily that it has a flaw, or, you know, that some have come back and people have, you know, approached me and said, hey, that was a bad recommendation. None of that. It's just Sony hasn't done anything about it. To my knowledge, the design hasn't changed. Now, my knowledge at this point in time is as late as this one, which is a late 2023. August of 2023. And this one has that flaw. This one's cracked. This is a friend of mine, well, somebody I recommended it to had brought it to me and asked me if I could fix it. And I said, yeah, I've tried to fix the traces before. And what happens, and why I say traces, and this one's already broke because I cracked it because I got angry at it, is that you have this transformer setting on this really brittle board. I mean, this board does not take much to crack. And this heavy transformer is setting on this board, and the supports are flanking it, are not close enough to it to prevent it from cracking the board, nor is the board supported. Now, these little gray things on here is JB Weld. I tried to reinforce it, and then I tried to jump the traces, and the traces are just those little lines that carry the power from, you know, a component to component within here. And so what ends up happening, honestly, is that drop that I just showed you there ends up, you know, just a micro hair fracture in the board, a hairline fracture, whatever you want to call it, and it's just enough to separate the traces, and it does them in. Now, if we go out to eBay and we look, well, first, actually, before we go out to eBay, I'm going to show you how brittle this board is. That's all it takes. They're very stiff, very brittle. You have to design these in a way that they can withstand a shock. A good way to determine whether or not a product is reliable or not is the secondhand used market. If a lot of units make it to that secondhand market as parts repair, you know there's inherently a problem, especially if it's a newer product. This 190, if you go out and look at it on eBay, and you'll see that on eBay there's several different categories for the condition of a unit. There's like open box, unopened box, used, and broken, basically, parts repair. And then you can look at what's sold over the last 90 days, and you can also see those same. And so just for poops and giggles, I went out there and I looked at, you know, what sold over the last 90 days, what is currently listed, and then how many are broken, and did some math. And on the screen, you see the percentage of failed units currently available for review on eBay. It's the end of the year 2024. Okay. Similarly priced units such as the Sherwood or you have a Yamaha do not have the same. Especially if you look at the listings and you find out that the parts repair ones are actually just damaged units versus the Sonys, which, you know, there's not a lot of damage on most of those that are out there listed for parts. Amazon has feedback on these, and you'll see occasionally a feedback that says mine just stopped working out of the blue. They won't take it back because it's out of warranty. So that's not the real problem. The real problem is Sony has got to know about this. The return, they do a risk analysis on these where at some point they will see too many of these are getting returned compared to their other products. They can't not know about this. And the issue with that is they've chosen to do absolutely nothing about it, to my knowledge. I did look up to see if there was a service bulletin or a class action or a return program or something along those lines. And there is nothing out there that I could find. Now, if you find one, you please put it in the comments, because I do want people who have had a bad experience with one of these to be able to reach out to Sony and say, hey, I've got one of your bad ones. Can I please get a replacement? And the real issue with this is Sony makes really good products. I like Sony. Obviously, I have stacks of them. And I like this. They're all my keepers. I keep these. These are just cool units. I love the way they sound. I'll hook them up occasionally and listen to them. But for people that I've recommended this to, and people who have been out there and bought these as students or whatever, just a garage unit, and all of a sudden they stop working, guess what? They don't go and buy next. They don't go and buy Sony. So if you're trying to get people to entry level something, and then throughout as they age step up in quality or model number and quality, they're not going to buy Sony if it has an X% failure rate that's much higher than the competitors. So that's really the problem. I feel Sony's just screwing themselves over by just turning a blind eye to this. I'm really interested in what you have to say about this. Please put it in the comments. Hey, thanks for watching, and have a good day. If you own one of these, it is a good receiver. It sounds good. Just don't drop it.